we go. Okay, we are going to get rolling here. Thank you for being with me. This is so cool. We have so much fun with this. Let's get rolling. Our topic today is Confident Nutritionist, Dynamic Iridology, the 3 constitutions of Constitutional Iridology. This is the foundation. If you don't have this, nothing else we do when it comes to iridology is worth anything, right? You need this. This is key. And this is what a lot of people miss. Now, we do need to go over this little disclaimer here. Oh, we've got someone from Portugal, Anna Paulamendes, woo, from Portugal. Okay, so now we are hitting global because we jumped the pond. Awesome. This information that we're going to present today is meant for your education only. We do not ever, ever, ever use iridology to diagnose or prescribe, in spite of what you see all over social media. That is just so bad, so wrong, so awful. And if you've been with me for any length of time, you'll know why that is. You are responsible for any results, good or bad, that you get from using this information. We've got Jeanette joining us on Facebook and Creata joining us on Facebook. Thank you. So glad to see you there. Awesome. So welcome. Again, I'd love it if you haven't already, if you would take a moment to introduce yourself, just where you're from. That's fun. We've got David joining us on Instagram as well. And feel free to make comments during this. I'm going to try to keep my eye on all of my platforms so that I can respond to you in a timely manner. We're going to be together for 30-ish minutes today. And we are a we're actually a fairly good sized group today. We got someone from Las Vegas with us. Hi, Melanie. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. That's cool. But I'm encouraging you to interact with me, to ask questions. Again, we don't have time to do a deep dive on this. This is going to be a surface training because there's a lot we can do with the 3 constitutions. I do encourage you, though, to make comments, to weigh in on things, and to be really involved with this. I do want to know, we've got from Toronto, Ontario. Yeah, we've got Ontario and the Eastern province as well, represented here today. Wonderful. Thanks for being here with us, Anne. Appreciate that. I am a master herbalist, natural nutrition clinical practitioner, and a certified comprehensive iridology instructor. I have been in the holistic wellness world as a wellness coach since 1981. And so I've got like nearly 40 years of professional experience under my belt. I started playing with this stuff in 1979. I'm the wife of 1, the grandma of, no, let's do the mom first. Wife of 1, mom of 7, and grandma of 8. Love those little ones. And we are doing more and more things with face chats and things like that to stay connected with them, because golly, I need my grandma hugs. So as we go through this, again, I'm going to do my best to keep my eye on all the different platforms to answer any questions and address any comments that you might have, so that we can make sure we are up to speed on everything. As we go through this, I just want to let you know that, no, that's not the slide I want yet. I want this one still. I've studied several different styles of iridology. And my first 5 or 10 years, I was a Jensenian iridologist, but towards the end of that, I was getting really frustrated with it because it wasn't working the way I'd been taught it would work. I was taught that if I put people on cleanses and use special herbs, I'd see their eye colors change. I would see lines and fibers change position in the eye, that we'd see all these remarkable changes. And what I discovered after putting clients through the paces and the cleanses and the special diets and the lifestyle changes was that nothing changed. Not a single thing changed. And it was frustrating and it was disheartening. And I began to doubt my abilities as a practitioner, because I wasn't getting the results for my clients, and I knew they were following the instructions. I knew they were doing a good job of what we had talked about, but I wasn't getting the results that I had been taught they should be getting. And so just before I totally closed the book on iridology, I was really blessed to have the opportunity to learn constitutional iridology. And I'll tell you, wow, did that make a difference. An entirely different perspective, a much more solid understanding that the eyes are inherent What we see in the irides, that's the correct plural for iris when we're talking about eye. What we see in the irides is inherently programmed. It shows us where the genetic strengths and weaknesses are. The symptoms a person has tells us which of those inherent predispositions are manifesting. And as we talk with the client, we understand why they're manifesting. And as we understand that, we put everything we see in the eye together. We're never using just one marker as a one-off. Okay, we're putting it all together, connecting all the dots. We begin then to get a clear picture of what does this client need now and in the long term to regain their health, to correct the balance, to have what they want out of their health. And is what they want for their health actually achievable? Most of the time it is. Sometimes it's not, because that is their inherent predisposition. All right, so what you will find with iridology is this. Okay, just had my slides were throwing me off there. When you use iridology correctly in your practice, and we're going to get onto those 3 constitutions in a minute, but you need to understand this, because the way you're seeing iridology practiced in social media is, I'm going to be bold, all wrong. It is all wrong. When people jump in and say, post your pictures and I'll do an assessment, and they give back this long list of markers, this long list of what each of the markers means, and this long list of different things that could be done about it, that is all wrong. That is so not holistic. So not holistic. When you do iridology properly, if you are working as a holistic health professional now, what you will find is that iridology properly done will give you a faster assessment of your client's needs. It will help you be more accurate as to what your client's needs are and what the roots of their problems are, so that you can do a better job. Anyone could put a Band-Aid on a problem, right? Anybody can. Not everybody knows how to follow it back and drill down to actually get to the root of the problem. Iridology helps you to do that. And iridology helps you to see clearly what are the steps you need to take to actually help this person regain their wellness, or get their wellness for the first time, depending on who they are. When you do iridology properly, it also helps you create better and faster rapport. You don't waste time on things that are not important. All right. How many of you are health professionals? I'd like to see a show of hands. Herbalists, nutritionists, naturopaths, some kind of a something where you are doing assessments with clients, where you're doing wellness assessments. How many of you see that? We've got an acupuncture student right on. How many of the rest of you are working in a setting where you're coaching clients? Just raise your hand, or an I am or something like that in the comments would be great. And the reason I ask that is because then the next question, thank you, Maybrit, thank you, and Leslie, thank you. What I want to know is, do you have an intake questionnaire? And if you do, how long is it? Tell me how many pages long is your intake questionnaire, not including your release form, but just your intake questionnaire. Several meaning 10. Oh my goodness. Leslie, you need me. Luann, you're in a better place, but my goodness, yeah. Okay, with iridology, you can throw away your intake questionnaire. I know you're going, oh, you're panicking, right? But you can throw away your intake questionnaire, because when you understand your client's symptoms, when you understand what you see in their eyes, you will know what questions to ask. You will be lasering in on what you need. And because you're doing that, and you're not wasting time on all these other questions that are not related to what your client needs help with, you are going to find your client feels so understood and so heard. When was the last time you felt understood or heard? And I'm not dissing, I'm not slamming here, but I'm just asking, when was the last time you felt understood or heard when you went to your medical doctor? Right? But if you've got someone who is lasering in and who is asking questions specifically, yeah, Leslie goes, ha ha, right, right. When you understand what you're seeing in a person's eyes, and when you apply that to their symptoms, you combine this information, you then are able to start asking questions that add relevant information to what you are doing so that you can actually construct the right kind of wellness program to take your client to the next step. Okay, we're not talking about cure all of your clients' problems forever and ever. We're not talking about giving them that one program that's everything they're ever going to need to know. We're talking about giving them the information they need to take them to the next step. Right? That's all they need right now. That's all they can handle right now. And I guarantee you that right now, with what's going on in the world, that is all they can handle. Right? Things have changed a lot, and they're probably going to change a lot more. When you do iridology right, that report is amazing. Actually, I'm going to be shooting a video tomorrow showing you, because typically with iridology, we're face-to-face with our clients, right? And that is a problem right now, right? Because we can't be face-to-face with our clients. So tomorrow I'm going to shoot a video to demonstrate and teach how to help your client get the best possible iris photos using their cell phone. Now, these aren't going to be super professional grade photos, but how to get the best possible photos from their cell phone so that they can send them to you so that you can still do an iris assessment with them. You can still work with them virtually over Zoom or Skype or whatever, right? And again, what you're seeing on the screen, doing iridology properly eliminates the need for your intake forms. You save a tree, save time, be working with more focus and more intention than a great big hunting party, right? We're not out there to do a shotgun program. We're out there to actually laser in and be specific with our clients so that we can help them very directly and precisely. Is this sounding good? Is this sounding good? All right. Let's look at our first constitution. Now, again, in the time we have today, we can't do the super deep dive with this that we do in the actual course, but this will be a foundation for you to build on. It's going to be a foundation, yes, created. Thanks for that. She's on Instagram with us. This is going to be enough information that you can start experimenting with this and working with it. All right, do we have that understanding that I can't give you a 2-hour class in 30 minutes, especially when the 2-hour class is a part of the paid program, right? But I can give you a 20 to 30 minute high-level overview that you can actually start using right now. And that's what we want, right? Got to have a starting point. So when we are looking at an iris, the first thing to know is that constitutional iridology is unlike every other style of iridology that's out there. We actually don't do a lot with mapping. We don't start with mapping. So many other styles actually start with maps. I have a book of maps, right? I need a binder for them all. And I don't use these maps very often. This is probably one of the most common maps that's out there. I want you to look at how small some of those spaces are in there. If this is an eye, and you're laying this map on top of that eye you see on your screen, how precise are you going to be in actually pinpointing some of these small areas? You know, if your image is tilted slightly or your map is tilted slightly, you're off. And you've just messed it all up, right? So with constitutional iridology, we don't use maps that are that busy. We use a map that is much simpler. And additionally, that is not our starting point. That's our finishing point, not our starting point. So when we are looking at an eye, and there we go, get rid of that. We want to know what to look for. What are we seeing? So this is what we would call a lymphatic iris. Lymphatic, the name of this category teaches us a lot already, but what you need to know about a lymphatic iris is there are a couple of very key identifying features. Number one, it will always have some blue in it. It might not be as blue all over as this eye, but it will always have some blue. There will always be fiber visible. So when we look at this, you can see that there's threads in here. These are the fibers we are talking about. So a lymphatic eye will always have some blue and some visible fibers. Any of you who are interested in that eye map I just showed you, if you go to iridology.education, there's going to be a little pop-up box that will say, do you want to download a constitutional iridology map, basically, and say yes, and that's going to give you the link. All right. So you can get the iridology.education. Watch for the pop-up box. So when we have this, we've got some blue, doesn't have to be all blue, just some, and we've got some visible fibers. That means this is a lymphatic eye. There may be other colors laid over top of this, and we're going to look at one of those in just a moment. Hi, Tracy. Good to see you on Instagram with us. Common health concerns for people with the lymphatic constitution are centered around mucous membranes, the acid levels in their body, not their stomach and GI tract, but in their body, and the lymphatic system. Okay, so when we see someone with a lymphatic iris, you're more likely to see challenges with things like asthma, allergies, arthritis, eczema, psoriasis, and kidney issues. So your client comes in and they say, I have this problem, blah, 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 I would like your help with. Consider that problem, and you've got the training. If you've got nutrition, if you've got herbology, and if you've got anatomy and physiology under your belt, maybe you're a naturopath or an acupuncturist, you've got the training to already understand how their symptoms would correlate with and tie into either a mucous membrane malfunction, an unbalanced acid level at the blood and the lymphatic fluid and the interstitial fluid level, and their lymphatic system. That's how we start connecting the dots. Right? That's how we start connecting the dots. When you see that they've got this symptom and you can directly correlate it to mucous membranes, acid levels, lymphatics, and there's a few more, but those are the most common ones. Then you can begin diving deeper to ask the usual questions. When did it start? Are you aware of a trigger that started it? And ask the dietary questions, of course, and then circle back around with that information in the context of lymphatics, mucous membranes, acid levels, and symptoms as you create your program for them. Hi, Catherine. Good to see you on Instagram. Thanks for joining us. This is also a lymphatic iris. Some of you are going, huh, what? And what you need to remember with this is not all blue is baby blue. This has a steel blue gray in it, which is what we're seeing through most of the iris. And we've got lots of visible fibers, so this is still a lymphatic iris. When you see this, and I want to know in the chat box in the comments, do you think you have a lymphatic iris with what you're seeing, the blue eyes and these eyes? Do you? I'd love to know. Just, yeah, some of you do. Right on. Okay. See how easy this is? All right. When we see different colors in the eye like this, we have that base constitution, which is lymphatic. Then we need to understand, and this is getting into deeper subtypes and pigments and things. Each of these colors gives us more information about this person, how they're inherently put together, and where their strengths and weaknesses are. It also gives us information as to whether some of these things were actually inherited, passed down from 3 or 4 generations, or if there is also more of a you earned this on your own side of the story. All right. So when we see these people, again, when we see people with these lymphatic eyes, I didn't mean that to sound like these people. When we see people that have the lymphatic constitution, we know that they are also a little more prone to thyroid issues. Even if there are no thyroid indicators in a thyroid zone on an iris, right? They're still a little more prone to thyroid issues, and they're prone to that thyroid parathyroid imbalance where those two glands, as you know, play significant roles in calcium assimilation, bone density, that kind of stuff. So when we have someone who's got a lymphatic iris and they're saying they want help with thyroid, hi, Amy, it's good to see you, A-M-I-L, M-E-L, I think that is. Good to see you on Instagram. When we see a lymphatic constitution and the person says they've got a thyroid issue or they've got an osteoporosis diagnosis, and we look at the eyes and we don't see an actual iris marking in the thyroid zone, what does that mean? How are we going to tie their eyes, what we see in their eyes, to their osteoporosis, thyroid, important mineral balance kind of thing? We're going to go back to the body acid level, right? Because we need the acids in the right balance in order to actually assimilate the minerals properly. There we go. So we're going to ask questions. If we see an iris marker in the thyroid zone, we are going to ask questions about the family history and the personal history of thyroid, parathyroid, and bone health. If we don't see markers there, we're going to dive deeper into what is the acid level like? What is there? Do we have other symptoms that suggest the acid is out of balance? Our goal here is not to use iridology like some kind of a crystal ball. It's also not a party game. This is so not the game of look at my eyes and tell me what's wrong with me. In fact, when I have clients that say, I'm not going to tell you what's wrong, just look in my eyes and tell me what's wrong, I won't. I absolutely won't. Because that is diagnosing. We don't do that. And with constitutional iridology, we need context. We need to know the client some. We need to have a conversation. This is not a crystal ball. Constitutional iridology is about understanding the constitution of the person so we can understand where their less resilient and more resilient areas in their body are. And that then allows us to give them better information to guide them in more solid ways and to really help them regain their health. So this is totally about getting to the root of the problem. Is this making sense? Yeah. So this is just the tip of the iceberg, and we've got a couple more constitutions to go over today. And Heather says this is fascinating. Right on, Heather. Thanks for that. I want to share with you as we're doing this a little bit about how iridology can help you in your practice as well. This is what one of my grads said. Hi, Roberts. It's good to see you on Instagram. This is Sharon Bimrose. She is a naturopath in Australia. She had studied naturopathy as a part of her, she'd studied iridology as a part of her naturopathy program. This is what she said after completing my program. However, Judith's course, Confident Nutritionist Dynamic Iridology, surpassed my previous training in structure, content, delivery, documentation, and support. Iridology has certainly reduced the time required for prioritizing a treatment plan. Bingo. How many of you that work with clients see the client and then you go off and you spend a few hours of your own time when you're not face-to-face with your client creating a program for them? I want to see, I want to know. I want to know if that's what you do. And then you bring that homework you did back to them when they come in for their next appointment. That's how I was taught to do it. Yeah. And it's so much time wasted. Oh, Mabert, you are so right. So much time wasted. With iridology, you will learn how to create your programs right while you're with your client. So no more you go home and do 2 or 3 or 4 hours of homework. It's that you get it done right while you're with your client. So Sharon goes on to say, iridology without a doubt has been a huge game changer to my practice. She used to actually email the programs out and wasn't getting paid for those non-face-to-face hours. Now she gets it done within her client time, which is great because that means she's being paid for every hour she's with her clients and working for them. All right. Second constitutional type, the brown eye, also known as the hematogenic eye. Now, with the brown eye, what you're going to find is there might be gold in it or lighter shades of brown. There might be darker shades of brown, but that means it's something entirely different. We're just looking at the base color here. So it'll be brown with some golds, but there will be no visible fiber. So we don't see any of those threads in this eye. There will be no visible blue or green. So it's only golds and browns. All right. When we look at this, as the name implies, hematogenic, hema, blood. The liver plays key roles in the development of blood. So the blood and the liver are the key areas of focus for our hematogenic people. That's where we're going to be looking for the inherent predispositions. That's what we want to tie things back to for these people. So they come in with a symptom list. I call it the shopping list. They've got their 4 or 5 symptoms, and you with your training already know how to get in there and to ask the questions, or sorry, how to connect the dots of these symptoms are all connected, these symptoms are all connected. Then when you see their eyes, you want to go back and ask again, we've got these symptoms, they're connected this way. How do the eyes confirm this? What further information do the eyes give us about this to have us understanding? So Created says she has hazel eyes, but I still see fibers. We're going to talk about you in a moment, Created. Just hang tough, hang tough. We are going to talk about you. All right, I promise. I promise. We're going to get there. All right. So with this, there's another beautiful hematogenic eye. So these people, when we break that down a bit further from liver and blood, we also want to be considering that they probably have some challenges with, and this is inherent and it's across the board, stomach digestion, circulation and heart, that kind of goes with blood a little bit, varicose veins, pH. Now these people tend to be more alkaline, and some of that will depend on their diet, of course, but they tend to run a little more to the alkaline side. That means that they tend to have problems holding their calcium, right? Their minerals tend to be out of balance because you need a little bit of acid to actually assimilate your minerals. They also, because they don't hold their minerals well, they tend to end up with some endocrine imbalances, right? And so those are the common areas that we want to be looking at and asking questions about as they actually relate to the client's symptoms. Everything we do, absolutely everything we do with iridology, with constitutional iridology, we need to tie back to the client's symptoms and to their family history, right? Everything. We're not ever, ever, ever going to look at one marker. That was how I used to do it as a Jensenian iridologist. Every marker was a pathological problem happening right now. I got depressed doing those analyses because it meant that my clients, the people that were coming to me, they were just train wrecks. There was nothing right in their body. And when I would say, well, you've got a problem here. No, I don't. Well, your eyes say you've got a problem here. No, I don't. Your eyes say I've got a problem here. No, I don't. Yeah, not effective. But now with the last 30 years, with being able to take the eye, look at it in a constitutional way, dovetail that with the symptoms, and then dovetail all that with conversation with my client to dig deeper, I am right 95% of the time. And that's not to go, I'm right. That's to go, I'm right, which means I can be far more effective in helping my clients. right? It's not an ego trip. It's a how much service, how much benefit can I be to my clients? That's all it's about. So depending on what symptoms or imbalances your client wants help with, the questions you might ask based on iridology could include things like, when we're looking at the hematogenic eye, is there a personal or family history of blood imbalances, allergies due to liver imbalances, immune issues because the liver plays key roles right there as well, hormonal issues because your liver does the cholesterol and the neutralizing of hormones after they've done their job, blood lipid imbalances, including cholesterol, right? Because that again is a liver thing. Weight issues due to liver imbalances, and even some pancreas imbalances can sometimes get tucked into there. Now, you wouldn't ask all of those questions to every client every time. You would choose the questions that relate to the client's issues. Okay, so now I want to know, do you think you've got hematogenic eyes? Brown and gold, no visible fibers. Yeah, I want to know who's got hematogenic eyes. I'm watching all of these. So Luann doesn't. Melanie's boyfriend does, right on. Philson does, right on. Thank you for that. And I want to hear from the rest of you. We've got more people than that on the call. And so we've got lots of other things happening. I shouldn't say happening because these aren't changing. Anne does too. Great. These other markings can give us other information about this client as we need it to, but we don't go into those right now. That's what we cover in the course. Well, let's talk about another student. This is Michelle Davies. And you have to know that I'm so incredibly proud of all of my students. The course is tough and the exams are tough. And my students do so well, and I'm so proud of them. Michelle came to me with tons of certification. She had done 3 levels with Dr. Pesic, 1 with Darko Purse, but she says this is the most amazing iridology course I've taken. Judith's course is top on my list, right? Because what I teach is how to put it all together. We teach the markers. We teach how do you know what questions to ask. We teach how do you correlate that to diet and supplements and herbs and lifestyle. Now, I don't teach the nutrition and I don't teach all the vitamins and minerals and herbs. Whatever knowledge you've got on that, you bring, and I teach you how to access what you already know. Okay, and she goes on to say, I feel very confident in my nutrition practice now, which is lovely, absolutely lovely. Yeah. All right. Created. This is for you and anybody else who wants to listen in. Our third type is the biliary type. These are often called the hazel eyes. They often have a lot of brown or orange. They often have a lot of gold, but they have fiber. When you can see the fiber and the eye is all those browns and golds, that's a, oops, I did not mean to do that. We'll go right back there. That's a good indication that you're looking at a biliary eye. So the other iridologies that are out there would look at this eye and would go, oh my goodness, you need to cleanse. We need to put you through the paces here. Your eyes should be blue. Let's get rid of all of that toxic buildup that you've got. Oh my goodness, where did you get that toxic exposure? Constitutional does not agree with that one little bit. Not one little bit. Your base iris color is inherited. This is also this is the iris type that trips up most constitutional iridologists, because it can look like it's supposed to be hematogenic if you don't have good magnification. If you've got good magnification, you'll see the fibers, and there you go. You can call it what it really is, which is biliary. Now, again, in this eye, there'll be no blue. No blue. Browns, golds, maybe some green. Hi, Up Nutrition. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. No blue, might be green, probably gold. Yes, brown, probably some oranges. There's usually a darker area right hugging the pupil, just like we see here. So when you see the term biliary, what do you think? What do you think this has to do with? The lymphatic iris had to do partially with lymphatics. The hematogenic had to do with blood, hema, blood. What do you think biliary has to do with? Any ideas? All right. So we've got Maybrit saying bile. Heather says bile pancreas. Anne says gall. Yeah. Gallbladders. Oh, you guys are so, yeah. Liver. Yeah. Bile. Yeah, absolutely. We are talking about the liver and all of its functions, including bile. Okay. All of that, including bile. Really, really cool stuff. So when we look at this, then we know that the kinds of questions we are going to ask, again, based on the client's symptoms, are going to circle around the ideas of personal and family history issues with digestion. So anything at the stomach level, the liver, which again includes immune, lipid, blood sugar balance, triglyceride balance, cholesterol, all your lipids, allergies, so much more. I mean, the liver is such a busy organ. Gallbladder can be a bit of the issue here too, which again, gallbladder, gallstones, pancreas. We all think about blood sugar balance. When we think about pancreas, we think about insulin primarily, but we need to think broader. We need to think about carbohydrate digestion that happens in the intestines, because the pancreas has a lot to do with that, right? Okay, so as we look at that, those are the kinds of questions we want to be asking if they are appropriate for the symptoms the client has brought in. And I guarantee you that if you know your anatomy and physiology, and when you know your iridology, you will see clearly how a client's symptoms always tie back at least 70 or 80% to their inherent predisposition. Is this good so far? You liking this? I want to know, what, just as we're flipping to the next slide, what have you learned that is useful for you? Can you see yourself taking this into a client setting? Now I'm seeing hearts floating up on Instagram. Thank you. Thank you. If you're ready to take that next, oh, and Melanie Haskell is saying wants to learn so much more. Yeah. And Robert is saying, great, it's interesting. Thank you so much. And yeah, Created is saying, yes, love it, love it, love it. So if you're ready to take that leap to learn more about constitutional iridology, stay with me for 5 minutes. I promise this is not going to be a hard sell. I just want to share a little bit of information with you. First off, we're going to see what one of my students said. We're going to hear from her twice here. This is Karen. She is a certified natural health practitioner who specializes in gut health. And why I'm sharing this one with you is because there are ways to teach iridology that enable students, practitioners like you, to confidently use not just the iridology, but to even be more confident in your other training and to pull it all together to make your businesses way more than, to make it more of what you wanted it to be. And that's exactly the way I teach. I teach you the what, the why, and the how when we're doing the iridology course. But here's what Karen said. Judith, I just returned from a regenerative detoxification course where iridology is implemented. I spread the word about what a wonderful teacher you are. Most people I taught with did not have anywhere near the same experience with their iridology education. No support, unanswered questions, and a lot of confusion. Mostly they finished their classes not knowing how to implement what they had learned. I feel so absolutely blessed to have been taught by you. I feel totally supported, even still as I've graduated. This is a year old, so almost 3 years ago now. I don't think there is anyone out there practicing, educating, and teaching iridology like you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Okay. We'll stop before the waterworks start, okay? Heart on sleeve, right there, right there. So I asked my students in our Facebook group, and my Facebook group, my private Facebook group, is for my students and alumni, right? So many of them, we had some that are in process and some that have graduated and some that have certified. Karen says, when I asked her how has Constitutional Iridology helped in her business, she said, iridology has helped me to understand the relationships between different organs and organ systems more in depth. Remember, she's a certified natural health practitioner. She knows that stuff, but this dove deeper for her. Iridology also gives me an advantage of seeing the potential for different genetic traits and qualities that may be underlying. By observing the constitution, for example, you can extrapolate how the person's body will likely respond to applications of healing methods. Therefore, it has helped me to expand my knowledge and increased my efficiency at providing more precise recommendations for health-oriented options. Now, why would you want to be more efficient? That sounds like if you're more efficient, your clients are going to drop off, right? They're going to get to where they want to go, and then they're going to go, adios, amigo, right? Here to tell you, that's not how it works. When you efficiently are able to help your client solve the problem, that top of the mind problem that brought them into you, they suddenly think you can do anything, right? They realize that you aren't there to string them along and do a whole bunch of different things that are irrelevant, but you are there to help them get the results they need. So when that first problem is under control, guess what? They come back and they say, now I'm aware that I have this problem. Can you help me? You know, we take away the big problem that's consuming everything all their time. We take away that, we see another one. We take away that, we see another one. What that does is it helps to engender loyalty because they've got confidence in you, so they are loyal to you, and that helps to create long-term clients. I was had a client in before we had to do the distancing thing, so just like 5 or 6 weeks ago, and she said, we actually did the math. We figured out, when did she start coming to see me? This is not uncommon. We had to figure out, where were we at in having our babies? She's been a client for 38 years, right? I have so many clients that are 5, 10, 15 years. We work for a while, they disappear for a bit to do their thing. When another problem crops up, they come back. We work for 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 appointments, get them moving again, they go, and then they come back. And that's what happens when you do this right, when you don't vomit everything you know about everything all over them in one sitting, right? Make sense? So I want to share some information about the course that's coming up. And again, 3 minutes max here. I'm not going to flood you with a big sales pitch here because that's not what you came for. The course is called Confident Nutritionist Dynamic Iridology. It is a live, online, fully mentored course for nutritionists, herbalists, and naturopaths who want to streamline their clinical work. And I should not say without sacrificing client care. I should say while enhancing client care. I know you think you're giving great service, and you probably are, but what if you could bump that up a notch and have it take less of your time? Yeah? And the reason we want to do this is so that you can stop working that unpaid overtime, those hours to create your own programs, right, that you're not getting paid for. Stop overwhelming your clients with undoable programs. Create programs that will increase client compliance because your client can do it and actually be successful and start seeing the results. And when they do that, they want more of what you've got. Help them have more success, and that long-term retention is so important. Now, to that end, there is a webinar coming up this Saturday, 9 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time, so 2 hours earlier than what we started today, just to help you put that in context. And in that webinar, I am going to share with you who the course is really designed for. I'm going to give you a hint. Herbalists, nutritionists, naturopaths, holistic practitioners who do assessments. So TCMs, TCM doctors, acupuncturists, anybody who does an assessment. I'm going to share with you how it will help you in your practice. I'm going to share with you what's included in the program, what kind of support you get, what kind of materials you get, how the program is delivered. And of course, we'll share the tuition and the payment options. Now, there is something else that's coming up that is very, very special. Anna on Facebook says, thank you. I learn a lot from you. Love you too, Anna. Thank you for that. We got something going on out there in the world, right? Yeah, you probably have noticed that. And it's affecting business. It's affecting people. It's affecting lives, right? And because and our clients still need us, that they probably need us more now than ever before. They're afraid to go to the doctor's office because who knows what kind of things are lurking there, right? And they're not able to get the kind of care they want. But I also know that for some of you, and this breaks my heart, this pandemic that we are facing right now, because you can't see your people face to face, is costing you your business. And that does break my heart. It really, really does. And so I've created, and I'm going to launch this in the webinar on Saturday. I have created a version of my course with a much lower price point where it's a self-study program. And it's meant so that people can get started right now. They can start working through on their own pace. And we've got a way for those students to transition into the full-on course if they're interested in that. I've never launched this before. I actually resisted doing this before, but I now see that we have a tremendous need. You need iridology in your programs, in your practice. You need it under your belt, and you need to know how can you use it if you can't be face-to-face with your client. So we're covering all of that Saturday. To register for that webinar, to learn more about the course itself, go to iridology.education/webinar and enter your information there so that I can make sure you get on the list. And Heather's going, yeah, way to go, Heather. Yeah, right? This is my way of helping this to be more accessible to more people, to more practitioners, so we can do more good, right? The world needs more good. It needs you to stand up and shine. It needs you to show up. And that's why I'm doing this. There's that heart right on the sleeve again. Right, so Maybrit says, thank you. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. You know, and even from more than just the health and helper perspective, we all know that that we are we are small business. We are what will drive the economy to help bring the economy back worldwide, right? So hopefully I will see you on Saturday. Practice that lymphatic, biliary, and hematogenic on everybody you can get your hands on, which is probably the people you live with, and start learning it. And we will see you Saturday. Take good care. We will see you then. Bye for now.